guys. We're trying to make sure that we get this recorded properly.
Got it. Yeah, thank you. So let me just start off with a few, introductory comments. NCA has really put in over the past month many, probably safe to say hundreds of hours of research, planning, conversations, deliberation, to find the best and safest plan. We've consulted many individuals, organizations, thankful for the individuals that, the godly individuals that he has surrounded NCA with. And we've been able to reach out and take advantage of their expertise. As you probably know, June 30th, the Michigan Safe School, Michigan's Roadmap to Return came out from our governor's office. This is a document that kind of lays out the groundwork for returning to school. It applies to both private and public schools, all schools. It's very clear in that document that all schools must follow this. It is largely based on the phase in which we're in, which our state and our region is. Currently, we are in phase 4, which allows for schools to meet in person with many regulations and protocols, but it is our intention as we stay in stage 4 or perhaps move to stage 5 to be open August 31st. And we believe that we can do so safely. We know that there are a great deal of other schools out there, and each one of them has a different plan and many different plans out there. We believe that Novi Christian Academy is unique to many schools, many of the public schools that are, hit the headlines of the news. They have many different things to consider than we do, mainly numbers. We believe that we can follow a few simple principles and return to school safely. It's just some of those guiding principles for us is kind of keeping students in groups. For the most part, that'll be classrooms, it'll be grades, it'll be cohorts of students. That limits the amount of close contact and connection that they have with other students. Of course, social distancing would be another principle. Keeping kids 6 feet apart because, again, of our size and our classroom size. The governor's recommendation is to keep, students facing the same direction, 6 feet apart as feasible. We feel that we are able to do that in almost every situation. Close contact is something else that is talked about often, and what you'll see and hear there is close contact is defined by 6 feet, closer than 6 feet for 15 minutes. So that is, again, something that we can manage. Of course, I haven't mentioned some of the very basic things is cleanliness, the sanitation of our building, of our rooms, of our desks, our classrooms, and safe habits that we can instill within staff and students, washing of hands and sanitation and sanitizers. Those are all part of the plan as you have read. As we looked at research, as you have, again, probably have seen, the CDC, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and almost every other organization out there believes that kids can be in school and would recommend that kids can be in school. Again, COVID-19 is real, but the impact on children is less than most. So we are thankful for that. The rate at which children are affected is less than the
Someday,
rest of the
I'm gonna go to the cruise
population.
with my
The
kids,
negative
and Maggie
effect
and I
of
are gonna
kids being out of
stand
school
and watch the sunset on the deck.
is for an extended period of time.
That's her nephew.
You know, obviously is, and we believe, a very negative
Yep.
thing. The importance of in-person, you know, the school environment. We believe we can accomplish much more here in a safe environment. You know, our goal is that students would be able to be in person, that they could thrive academically, that we would be able to evaluate and see where they're at and move forward from here. We can do that much more quickly, more effectively if we have the students here, and we can provide the help that they need moving forward. So we want them to thrive academically, but also, you know, the mental, social aspect, the spiritual aspect are all very important things in which we do. Of course, we want to do that in a safe environment. Can I promise that no kid will get sick? You know, no, I cannot. It is very likely that, you know, a student may get ill. He may come down with COVID. There is no way to prevent all the risk, but we want to keep that risk as low as possible. And, you know, I think at the end of the day, this becomes a family decision. We will tonight share everything that we can. We will continue to answer your questions. If we don't get to them tonight, we will try to get to them, you know, in the near future. Bottom line is, we know that families need to make a decision, and they need to make a decision during this time that's best for their family. And we realize that families, this COVID pandemic has affected different families, has had a different impact on families. And in no way do we want to minimize that. So as one doctor has said, there really is no bad decision. You know, I believe families have to make decisions that are right for them. We believe that we've done our homework. We believe that we have a plan that will ensure the very lowest risk possible. And so that's kind of lays the groundwork. I don't know, Sarah Jane, you want to jump in, or Joseph?
So just a couple of things before we get started, just to talk about kind of how this session will run. I'm not sure everybody's familiarity with using Zoom at this point. We probably all are way over Zoom, but just in case. So we are going to ask everybody to mute, which it looks like everybody has muted. So we really appreciate that. We're going to ask that you can use the hand raising icon if there's something that you need to, you know, respond to that's being said. If you have a question, we're going to ask you to use the chat feature. And then we will try to scroll through those. Joseph's going to kind of be managing the chat for us, and then we'll be able to address those. And finally, we're going to ask that the questions that are raised, that we try, just because of limited time tonight, that we try to keep those for the good of the group. If you have a question that's very specific to you, as some families have reached out to us, you know, children with specific, you know, maybe medical concerns, or you have some concerns specific to your family, we would love to talk to you about that, but we asked that maybe we could do that at another time, just so that we kind of maximize the time that we have here right now. We also wanted to bring to your attention that thank you to all of you who submitted questions in advance. We spent yesterday and we went over all, you know, the questions that were submitted to us, and we created a frequently asked questions document that was emailed out to you earlier this afternoon. And obviously, you know, many of us are working and you may not have had a chance to look that over, but I do encourage you to look that over. There were some questions that people asked that were, again, more personal questions, and we didn't put those on the frequently asked questions. You know, those were just things more that we will be directly responding, you know, to people individually too. The document itself is obviously intense. So if you can't sleep tonight, you should pull this puppy out. It'll help you sleep, okay? But really, it is detailed and in-depth. The focus right now is phase 4, as Mr. Robinson said. That is where our state is in right now. Our state is in phase 4. And so that's in-person instruction with stringent safety protocols. And we've kind of gone above and beyond even some of the things that, were recommended. So, just Mr. Robinson alluded to keeping kids in cohorts, and I just wanted to speak to that briefly. On the elementary side of school, obviously students are in their individual classrooms and we have small class sizes. And so that is a cohort or, within itself. But then also within classrooms, we are keeping students in smaller cohorts. So on the secondary side, that means that seating charts are the same from class to class, so that the students that a secondary student is interacting with will be limited to just the same group of students that are sitting around them. On the playground, there will be, 3 recesses will be happening at the same time, but they will be in 3 separate locations so that students are not, intermingling during recess. All students are eating lunches in classrooms just to minimize interaction. So I just wanted to speak a little bit more to some of that cohorting, and then, very staggered dismissals. Arrival by its nature is staggered, but dismissal has been intentionally staggered on both the elementary and the secondary side. On the elementary side, with students being called down over the radio, so to minimize the number of students in the hallway as parents arrive. It will be very important that, we've done this now. This will be the 2nd year for elementary, where when parents pick students up, on their visor, they have a tag with their child's last name on it. And that will be very important for us to keep dismissal efficient. And so we'll be radioing up, send down the Gatches, send down the bill of reels, several kids at a time, and get them into their cars. On the secondary side, it is timed by last name. And we are also not putting, normally we take elementary students who have secondary older siblings and we kind of intermix that. We're not intermixing that at all. So if you have an elementary child and a secondary child, you would pull up on the elementary side, pick up your child first because they dismiss earlier, pull down that central drive, and then loop back around to get your secondary student. Just to, again, minimize any, crossover of students as much as we possibly can.
It might be helpful, and I see you using the chat feature, so thank you. We'll try to get to some of those questions. A typical day. I think first and foremost, for this to be successful, it is part of our mission to partner with parents, and we need to rely on our parents. Our days will begin with a parent screening their child and their student. And they will be filling out a health screener that day. Their child will bring that in, K through 12. That will be their ticket into class. As they come into the building, we will have designated entrance and exits. We will try as best we can to keep people moving the same direction. So as they come in, we will sanitize hands. We will have them. There will be sanitation stations outside of every classroom, and at minimal. They will come in for secondary students. They will go to their locker. They will ready themselves, use their backpack. They'll be allowed to take their backpack, but go directly from there to their first hour. We are asking, and we'll be having our staff in the hallways to monitor students that they do not linger. Once again, this goes back to close contact being, 6 feet apart for more than 15 minutes. It should not take you that long at a locker, should not even be close, and you should be moving into your classroom where they will present their ticket, their health screening ticket to the teacher. For elementary,
Well, also,
it will look similar.
and also for that reason, just to minimize the lingering and the interacting, the building typically has opened at 7:30. And then students have been able to, hang out in the hallways, which we know is probably like the highlight of their day. But that's unfortunately something that just can't happen at this point in time. And so the building will open at 7:45 with students proceeding, like Mr. Robbins said, secondary students proceeding directly to their lockers, elementary students proceeding directly to their classroom doors. There won't be any walking in of students. Adults outside of staff are not allowed in the building except for extenuating circumstances. You may walk your child to the door, but beyond the door, your child needs to, come in. The train station, we've been working with the train station and the church. Train station children will not be coming in through door C anymore, so their families will not be coming through our building, nor will we be going through their building. So if you have a child in the train station and a child, maybe an elementary child, you would drop your child first at the train station, coming in through the church doors, down through the hallway near the factories. They will check you in and do their screening. They screen everybody that comes there. So they would screen, all members of your family that are there. Now, your child that is of school age then will be allowed to proceed through. There is a door that does connect the train station to NCA that is locked. That is, very few people have fobs too. And your child will be allowed to proceed through that door to get to their classroom, so that you don't have to bring your train station child in, pack everybody back up, go out to the car and drive around again, because that sounds really painful. And this is also safe, the way that we're doing it. So elementary students proceed, students as they proceed to the doorway, we're gonna hand sanitize them, as Mr. Robinson says, if you've been on a cruise, they hand sanitize, wash it up. The students the entrance ticket is the health screener. Now, some people have asked, can we do that electronically? And here's why we're not doing it electronically. We need to know instantly, as soon as a child enters the building, that health screening has been done and filled out. If people do it electronically, that involves somebody standing at a door with a checklist saying, who's who, and are you able to come in or are you not able to come in? So this kind of divides up the work a little bit. It's very visible. Yep, I have my entrance ticket. Your child doesn't have their entrance ticket, not a big deal. There is not going to be, shaming surrounding this, but we are, just for the sake of, again, kids not crossing over and keeping things moving, we'll have an area for them to go to, near the office, and we can, give you a call at that point and proceed from there. Obviously, it will make things a lot easier if the kids have the forms, but we also know that we are human beings, and that at some point in time, my child went on vacation once without shoes, so that's saying something. So that's what it would look like for the students to enter the building. I also want to say that all of this, this is a living, breathing document. And at any point in time, and we had instances this summer where the governor sometimes, it was one way at 12 p.m. and at 3 p.m. it was a different way, and so it will definitely evolve based on the things that the governor mandates. It will change if information arises, medical information arises that we need to change and adjust with. And it will also change with, things that will say, oh my goodness, like this just is not working. We need to do this differently. So it will definitely be changing and evolving, and that will largely be based on, feedback that we are getting from you. And so it's definitely going to be something that we will be encouraging and creating systematic ways to gather that feedback from you. I'm sure there's questions.
Good point. And we're seeing a number of questions jump in, and I can begin to answer some of them. One of the questions is, why 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit as kind of the temperature? And I will just say that is the standard that's used, that's put out there by health departments. It's a standard that's put out there by CDC and the governor's plan. That is very consistent throughout the plans.
Yeah, that's not our number.
Yeah. Restrooms, how often will they be cleaned? They will have, throughout the day, maintenance will be passing through the building. They will be, I would say, at least every 4 hours, as is a requirement, but more often than that, they will be going through the main areas. Our classrooms will be sanitized at every change from the secondary standpoint and routinely throughout the day. Some have asked about sanitizing wipes, that they're very difficult to find. Maintenance facilities has purchased the sanitizing,
EPA approved.
the EPA approved material that they need. We have plenty of it on hand, and they continue to buy more. So that will be done throughout the day and with a deep clean each and every night. Someone also had questions in terms of ventilation and the HVAC system. From the moment we're in school to the moment we leave and beyond, there is fresh air moving throughout our building. At times in the winter, that has caused some angst because some classrooms, they can feel the cold air coming in. And that is part of our HVAC system that is constantly bringing fresh air and into the building. So that occurs not routinely, that is occurring throughout the day on a consistent basis. Someone asked about drills and other safety drills, and I would say at this point, you know, they can be discussed and talked through in individual classrooms. We can notify, especially our little ones, of kind of what those things would look like. But again, if we do, you know, we will postpone those drills for the short time. And again, as Sarah Jane has said, you know, this is a moving and living document, and we are kind of thinking in terms of chunks. And that chunk might be a week, it might be a month or 2 weeks. That will be determined by, you know, the environment in which we live. So we will take those as necessary and as they come to us.
With regards to drills, students are able to practice a drill within their class, you know, but just to clarify, that would not be the whole school, you know, completing the drill at the same time. And so those are things that we can stagger, you know, so that students are, you know, still able to be safe, obviously, from, you know, other things outside of just COVID.
Yeah. I appreciate all your questions that are coming in. They're very good.
So the distance learning plan, that will be coming out to you very shortly. And that but a few highlights of that, because I know these are people's pertinent questions at this point. For distance learning, there will be multiple live instruction sessions. So it will look very different from what it looked like, you know, this past time in the spring where, you know, we had 2 days to prepare. Families were obviously, I mean, this was so out of our purview of what could even be possible, you know, and people are trying to manage so many different factors. So there will be live instruction, there will be feedback, there will be even meetings of the teachers with small groups of students and individual students. There will be office hours for students. Our goal is to really focus on our power standards so that we really maintain the integrity of our curriculum. Obviously, distance learning is going to move a little bit slower than in-class learning is going to. Anybody who's had a meeting on Zoom knows the reality of that, right? You know, once you can get live in person with people, how much more can be accomplished. But that is our goal, is to maintain the integrity of what we are offering. And yes, it will look different. And that is largely because of feedback from you, from feedback from, you know, teachers, feedback from students, you know, the survey results that we got from you and from your children. And then also just from, you know, meeting with people. You know, our technology people have been training all summer. They've been working with teachers this summer to train them on just, you know, how can we do what we're doing? You know, we want to be better. So, but the whole document, it's, you know, and it takes a minute because, you know, it goes through several people. It's not just us. It goes through the COVID task force. It goes through the school board. It goes through the church. It goes through our teachers. It goes through, you know, some of you. So I know that these are the answers that you're waiting for, and we assure you that as soon as possible, we will have that out to you.
You want to mention playground?
Yes, so somebody asked about the playground being sanitized. Interestingly enough, if you look through all of the recommendations, they say that there really should not be extra cleaning of the playground equipment, that it itself should not be sprayed, that it creates hazards of its own, that by the nature of it being outside, by the nature of it baking in the sun, by the nature of the elements, that is far more sanitary and safe for our kids than to continuously directly be spraying on it. What else?
Someone mentioned bathroom breaks for middle school, high school. And that is something that we are very much aware of, that whether they're bathroom breaks, there will also be needed academic, social, mental health breaks for our secondary students who typically do not have recess. We are speaking with our teachers and working on ways in which we can, one, have perhaps classroom outside from time to time and get our kids outside when possible. Perhaps lunch, if weather cooperates, that we can eat lunch outside, we'll do that. But we will also be working with our teachers to have our teachers give our kids some of those breaks throughout the school day. And honestly, our teachers will need those breaks too. So we're trying to build that in to the day.
So there are several questions have come up about what is the protocol if a child tests positive, if a staff member tests positive, or if they just possibly came into contact with someone that tested positive. Just for the aspect of time, if you look for stage 4 on pages 8 through 10 of the roadmap document, it outlines exactly what that looks like. The only thing that it does not outline is what would cause the school to shut down. What would be that tipping point of the number of cases that the whole school would shut down? And the reason that was not included in our document is that, quite frankly, nobody has been able to answer that question for us. And that is something that we have been discussing with several different people, members of the medical community, our task force, our school board. What would be that tipping point? And obviously we will err on the side of caution as far as that is concerned.
And I think those are, conversations that we continue to have with local health departments. And they are the ones that really give a lot of guidance to schools. And obviously this is a new situation for them. But, we look back to last year, and as many of you know, we had a great deal of sickness, right after Christmas or before Christmas. And, we think back, what was that like? And in retrospect, I think now with our mindset as it is, that we would be much quicker to say, you know what, we do have to shut down. And thankfully, if we do that, we now have the ability to go, do some distance learning, and our kids and our teachers will be prepared to do that.
Several people have asked about being notified if a student, or a staff member is COVID positive. Again, on page 10, it talks about confidentiality and privacy, which are very legal matters when it pertains to communicable disease, and that's protected health information. And so just like anything, just like in the past where you've been notified that there was a case of, of pink eye in your child's classroom. Yes, obviously we would notify you of that. Will we tell you the student's name? Absolutely not. That is private information. And in fact, in the governor's mandate, she specifically says, even if a family or student acknowledges and publicly discloses a positive test, school staff and officials must not participate in discussions or acknowledge a positive test. And this is for the protection of our students, so that student does not become a pariah, an outcast, that creates issues of its own. So will you be notified? 100% you will be notified, but we will, you will not be notified specifically.
And I think some of that, again, goes through a local
By
health
name.
department if there's positive cases. I mean, I think the process there is spelled out again on those pages 8, 9, and 10. But, if there are positives, they're going to make the determination if there's close contact. They will investigate. They will notify those families that they determine to be in close proximity and close contact. So again, that is a health department decision.
And we are and always have been legally required to report information such as that to the health department. So that's not actually a change, that's a continuation of just how things, have always progressed.
On kind of a different note, someone mentioned, about friends and interacting with friends outside their cohort and maybe outside the class. And, there's no doubt that during this time, there will be some limits to that. There may be times if that friend is in the class where they're going to be able to connect at recess and, perhaps other times. But a lot of that during the school day, especially as we're in stage 4, unfortunately, that will be, that interaction will be eliminated or small. Should parents buy sanitizer and wipes? I would say that's really not necessary. We will have a great deal of that on our campus. You may want one for the car. You may want to send a personal one in the backpack or in the student's desk. That is fine. You want to provide wipes for your student's desk. That would be fine. We would adjust the supply list to say, those are issues. If you want to purchase those for your child, fine. You want to keep some in the locker, I think that would be a wise idea. But not to turn in for class use. And, I love this question. How can we as parents help? Great question. Educators always love to hear that. And, really, one of the biggest thing is going to be honesty and openness and communication. It starts with our staff. All of us have been, guilty at some time in our career of saying, I'm just going to push through. I can make it. It's easier to push through than it is do sub-plans and things, those sorts of things. So I'm asking our staff, if you do not feel well, then you need to stay home. And, it goes for me, it goes for Sarah Jane, for Joseph. We must start with that. And I would say for parents, it's a new day and age. We have to be able to trust one another. To the person to your right and your left, the top and bottom, we're in this together. And we need to be able to count on one another to say, I know it's a tough call, but my student needs to stay home. I'm questioning, hey, I'm not, we've done it as parents. Take a Tylenol, take an Advil, your temperature will go down and we'll see if you're better at, you'll make it through the day. That has happened, we know. And those are the kind of things that we can't take that risk. You put everybody at risk during those times, and that's a difficult thing. So really that's my plea. We need to be in this together, and that would be first and foremost what I would consider.
We talked about, okay, so a few more things here. This might not flow real well, might be a little bit random. How will health screening forms be distributed? We will be putting those in RenWeb so that you could print them out at home if you wanted, but then we will be sending them home with students weekly. They're going to be on bright orange paper. If we run out of bright orange paper, we'll switch to another bright color so that you have those available. I know a lot of people don't have printers at home, so you'll have enough that will be given to you for the week, but then also you'll be able to access it if you need to. The question about parents allowed to walk their child into school, no. There are no outside adults, again, in the building. And that's just very strict. If you forgot something, if your child forgot something, I know none of our kids ever forget something, but let's say your kid accidentally forgot something, we are gonna have bins outside of the door that you will be able to put those supplies into the bins, label it with your child's name, press the buzzer, and we will come out and get that from you. So it really very, and then also, no, absolutely no lunches, hot lunches delivered from outside sources, because again, that's people walking in and out of our building, delivery people walking in and out of our building. And really, we're taking a hard stand on no outside people outside of students and staff in the building, unless there is obviously an extreme situation. Even if you're picking your child up early for an early dismissal, you will pull up, to the doors, you'll call the office, and we will walk your child out to you, and you will be able to sign out your child that way. So really a hard, fast, we can't have additional people in the building outside of staff and students. Will staff be screened daily? Staff is doing a self-screening. We all have to fill out that, that form as well. I might send them to my mom and make my mom send them in for me, but I don't know if that'll fly with this guy. So we'll see. But no, but we are, there is a screening process. Yes, for staff.
Yeah. Contact tracing, again, that is, if a student or an adult that does come is COVID positive, that is something that is led by the health department. So yes, we will do that. We'll do that with conjunction with the local health department.
And we're required to report that to them and to let them walk through that process. That's a requirement.
Has each teacher been tested before the first day of school? That is something that has been considered. It's not something that's been recommended in any way, shape, or form, but it is something we've been considered. At this point, the answer to that simply would be no. Somebody asked a very practical question. I was wondering if somebody would ask, why aren't we wearing masks or social distancing? This is a decision we've kind of made and we're comfortable with for this summer period. June, July, and August, we have been working very closely together, and that's a decision we've made, and it's kind of our cohort here at work. I will tell you, I've already announced and reminded each of us that those days are coming to an end very quickly, and you can be assured that
when staff returns,
as staff returns, that we will have our mask, and we will be, fully engaged in that.
And for the record, we do normally social distance, but the screen isn't big enough.
Yes, we typically, meet in a classroom where we can social distance. Thank you. Kids in the classroom, how many? We are doing we are minimizing the kids in the classroom. Our classrooms fit, depending on which classroom, 24 to 20 students, very, I say very nicely, but our teachers, I've told them, you may not be able to teach from your favorite spot. You may have to remove a table or a desk, but we have been in each classroom. We have walked around with a tape measure, and we've put desks 6 feet apart, and we are able to do that. Of course, just nature of elementary, our elementary classrooms are smaller, for academic reasons, which
The size
works very
is
nice.
the student
Yeah,
number,
student
not
number.
the actual space itself.
High schooler pickup doors, those that drive, it will be up in
The gym.
the gym entrance as it has been. The drop off will not change. How they get there will change. We are creating some one-way stairwells and stairways. So our outdoor, I guess to the west and to the east, our outside stairwells are at the outermost part of our halls. They will be utilized. Elementary always has. Our secondary students were not allowed to, but we will for this time That will kind of be an up, and the center stairwell will be our down. So again, trying to get students to move in one direction and limit face-to-face contact. You know, if a student is quarantined and tested positive, again, that will go to contact a tracing, but no, not necessarily the whole class will have to be quarantined. If deemed possible, that is a possibility. If we had an outbreak, obviously that is, or we had 1 or 2 students, then I think we move toward quarantining them or a staff member in that. And again, that process is spelled out.
Pages 8 through 10
8
for
through
stage
10 are
4.
very key on that. Students or parents, families will be notified. Again, as we've said, we can't name specifics, but you'll be notified so you can more closely monitor your student. We also will then go an extra step, and we will begin testing those students' temperature, taking those students' temperatures daily to add an extra level of precaution. In any of the research that we've done and any of the documents from any organization, it is not recommended that schools do a mass screening for all their students as they enter. So it was considered, but it's not recommended. We will add it as an addition. As a train station.
What is happening with band? I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but just like, is band occurring is, I guess, what I would be guessing people are saying. We talk about specials instruction on pages 11 and 12 of the document. But as far as music and choir, those will be held outside as often as they are able, to be, weather permitting. PE, will also be held outside as well. As far as, classes such as band or music tech, the band room is very large. Social distancing will be strongly, enforced in that class. I'll just continue with the specials. Elementary Spanish will continue to be held in classrooms. It will be a push-in class. Art during this time period will be a push-in class. And technology is it will remain as it has, whether it's a push-in or if kids go to the classroom, whatever they did, they will normally do with special sanitizing that will occur in between those classes. The process for drop-off from train station, you will go in, if you have a train station child, you will go in through the church doors. You will proceed down the hallway that has the factories. There will be a desk there where train station will be doing their screening. They will screen all members of your family that you have with you. You are allowed as a train station parent to take your child to the door of their classroom. You are not allowed to enter the classroom. If you have been an elementary student that needs to proceed into NCA, there are doors that your child will be able to go through, but you will not be able to proceed past that point into the school. Again, keeping with the hard and fast rule that no adults outside of staff, except for extreme circumstances, will be entering the building. Will same teachers doing distance and in-house instruction? Yes. And so this is part of the reason, if we were a large school, maybe half of our teachers could do in person and half of our teachers could do distance learning. We're not. And so we are, again, uniquely positioned to be able to provide in-school instruction where most large schools are not able to because of their size, because of busing. I mean, there's so many factors that are involved for them. So if we go to a distance learning, your child's classroom teacher that they've been physically in the classroom with will be the same person that will be doing their distance learning instruction. And again, the distance learning instruction different from last time, will involve live instruction throughout the day for your child. It will also involve time for your child to work with other smaller groups of students, to work individually with the teacher, and it will also provide office hours for you to make appointments with your teachers, continuing with testing and feedback of students. Will school hours be the same? School hours will be the same for you as a parent, and that is something that we worked very hard to figure out how we could make that happen and still stagger our dismissals. So elementary pickup, and I'm just trying to reference some of the pages so that people, if you have your document with you, that you're able to do that. But we do outline dismissal and arrival. Maybe Mr. Robinson can find that. So the doors will open at 7:45. Students will proceed directly either to their lockers or to their classrooms, depending, lockers, secondary students. And dismissal for elementary students will begin at 2:45, and it will not end until 3:15, which is what has been typical. For secondary students, dismissal begins at 3 o'clock. It is staggered. Hi, Tyson. It is staggered by, okay, sorry. It is staggered by alphabetical order. That way, I mean, can you imagine if it was like by grade level, you guys would just be driving in circles all afternoon. It'd be kind of funny, but we won't do that to you. So it'll be by last name so that families can pick up students. And that again goes till 3:20, which is our normal time. And the students will just be kind of held in classrooms until parents arrive, again, to avoid the intermingling. Students that are going to after-school care will be escorted by their elementary teacher directly to the aftercare room. And students that are going to study hall will not be released until 3:20, again, to minimize the number of students that are interacting in the hallways.
Again, mass breaks, we're looking again to work that into a schedule both for staff and for students. How do the computer labs and gym get sanitized? Those will be to industry standards. Gym, there are standards out there of wiping down all the equipment, follows closely some of the standards that have been put out by Michigan High School Athletic Association. So again, keep in mind that some of the best sanitation is a spray and a mist rather than a wiping down of things, which allows you to cover more area.
A question arose, what about music tech class with no chapel? They will just continue to do the things that they normally do. They just won't be leading the chapel and worship initially. Now, there's many discussions that have been going on of what chapel will look like going forward. Obviously, as a Christian school, chapel is a top priority to us. We also recognize that the beginning of the school year is going to be new and chaotic for everybody. And so what chapel will look like will be more like school-wide corporate prayer time. Virtually, where we will be focusing on, as a school, all focusing on first something specific that we will all be praying for, and then also allowing time for prayer requests and things of that nature. Eventually, it will probably shift, hopefully, to something else.
Yeah, and I would just add in that, because someone asked about church space and using that to social distance. And I think, that is, as we look to some of those special events and some of the special things that we do, that is a possibility of using, whether it be the worship center, the youth center, or other areas to social distance. So that is an option. We, of course, have to understand as well that there's business that's occurring up there, and there's ministry that is occurring up there. So there'll be times when that will have to be separated.
You guys have some awesome questions, I just have to say.
Yeah.
So a few. Can elementary students wear masks and shield? Absolutely. If any parent would like for their child to do that, they can. And there will be certain times of the day where they will be wearing masks. And a suggestion that I'm really big on is, using a lanyard for your child's mask. Because I mean, my child lost his whole snow bag last year, like maybe 2 weeks into snow days. So I can't imagine him trying to keep a hold of a mask. Excellent question here. How are sub/lunchroom, monitoring? How will that be handled with no outside adults allowed in the building? That is an awesome question. Our subs are going to be, considered kind of inside people with the same pool that we will be, going from. Lunch and, recess, those will be things that will be manned by in our regular staff members who do not have an administration, who do not have, classes during that time. So that's going to, fall on, the office staff is going to be helping out with those things.
Did you mention subs that we're working on?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, we are making an effort to, see where our subs at and looking to increase that pool. So yeah, that is an area we continue to do. Someone asked, how do we align with other local districts? And I would say from a safety standpoint, we are on par and more stringent than many of them. I would say though, we're as I said, we're a different commodity than they are. We're a different entity. Where a Walled Lake, a Farmington, a Novi, have many other things to manage, first and foremost size. So in many ways, in important ways, we are aligned safety-wise. We're aligned. I think our distance learning program, I think what we will roll out here shortly, as short as we can, I think is robust and, will allow our students to flourish in a greater way. So I feel very good about that. So I hope that answered that question.
So a couple more questions here. When sending young students downstairs, can we verify they arrived to their classroom? I'm assuming that someone who has a child in the train station and then sending them through that door, they want to verify that their child got to their classroom. Again, a blessing of being a small Christian school is that a lot of our teachers, they give their cell phones, numbers to parents. And so you would be able to text your child's teacher, verify that they got there. If for some reason that's, your child's teacher hasn't done that, I mean, I know that you guys know that you can reach out to me and, we can do that. And then also we are going to, we can have some staff that don't, have first hour classes posted, they're going to be posted throughout the hallways to make sure that, kids are getting where they need to get to and that they're monitored. So it's not like you're just throwing them out into the great abyss and there's no staff members out there. There will be plenty of staff members monitoring that.
I'll just jump in here because some of these pertain to, how will an elementary student be directed to the right classroom? And be assured that we will have a number of different adults in the hallways. We also are, although we haven't announced it yet, we typically have an orientation or, supply drop off where that student can go into that classroom and know, and see his classroom. That is very important for all of our students, but especially our young ones. And we are working out a plan that will allow them to know where their classroom is at and drop off their supplies, know their teacher, and those things ahead of time. So again, that will be a plan that will be probably be similar to what we did in the spring as far as, picking up supplies and things like that, where we will schedule that in. Same idea there with supply drop off, locker setup. Those are things that we are scheduling because we understand that, hey, that is important, for a sixth grader, first time at a locker. I want to know what that looks like, and they want to have that opportunity to practice that. So we will do that. Older siblings who are driving younger siblings, we will make accommodations to make sure they connect and that they get home together.
Somebody had asked, how does the train station / elementary pickup work? That's a great question. That would involve you picking up so it's kind of reversed from what you would do for the drop off. So you would pick up Either pick up your train station child first and then proceed through the line to pick up your elementary child, or vice versa. Block schedule for distance learning, was a question that is definitely something, that we have talked about just to maximize, the elementary schedule is pretty well set at this point. The secondary schedule is getting there. So again, that will be released to you guys shortly.
Feeling amongst teachers, I would say we had a meeting with our teachers, a virtual meeting this morning. Many of them have already been back in the building, and I would say that they are excited to have kids in their classroom. They're excited to come back. They have begun to prepare their classrooms, have begun to prepare their curriculum, and they're excited. There's some anxiety, of course, because it's going to be very different. So the anxiety has come from our teachers, I would say, just from, all right, it's different. How's this going to work? So we are working procedural, logistically with them that this works well. Survey available to parents, somebody mentioned here. Yes, that is something, as we go through this, we will want your input, and we will continue to ask for that.
Somebody asked, can we drop off lunches? Again, we are really just discouraging that during this time. So I think the question is to differentiate between dropping off a lunch versus having it delivered from an outside source. Obviously, if your child forgets your lunch, we're gonna work with you. We're real life, we're real people. We experience that ourselves. So we talked about the fact that there will be those bins outside of the doors. So yes, if your child forgets anything needs to be dropped off to them, you can label it with your child's name, drop it off, press the buzzer, say, I'm dropping off something for, Tommy Gatch, and then we'll come out and get it and make sure that it gets to your child. So, we're reasonable, but we also just really want to, it can become very chaotic. In the office if a lot of people are doing that. So we just ask, as much as you don't have to, that would be really helpful.
Christmas concert, that is something that honestly, it's on our radar, but that decision's not going to be made today. I think there's a lot of water to go under the bridge between now and then, and we'll see what the condition is of many things. What the health of our building is. Specials, some have asked, will band be outdoors? And the answer to that is very possibly yes, many times. We are praying for 75, partly cloudy, Monday through Friday. This might be the one year where, if it rains on the weekend, I'm okay with that. But Mrs. Bink, those that know her know that she is very creative, and she has a plan for vocal music, and for our young ones, has many different things planned for them. And I would very much feel safe in saying that she'll be offering things that no other music teacher is offering, and she has kind of planned A, B, and C that can be delivered in a safe manner. It may not be singing, it may be learning rhythms, and there are things that she can do outside. So Mr. Baker as well has those things planned.
A question came up: if we have more than one student, do we need various devices to participate in the live instruction with classes? So the elementary schedule was built staggered, so that the K and 1 schedule is the same, the 2nd and 3rd schedule is the same, and the 4th and 5th schedule is the same. The thinking is that, not always, but more often than not, there's usually, more than a year distance between siblings. Obviously not always, but that's more often the case. So for elementary kids, that would stagger them. They wouldn't need to be on live at the same times for the most part. When we go into the secondary side, all of the high school students are already one-to-one. So they all have their own devices. And so then that just leaves your, your middle school child where there could be, a possible overlap. There is, just like there was in the spring, there is a limited number of technology that you would be able to borrow just to minimize that impact on families. But we have been very conscious of trying to, for that to not be a burden on families that have multiple children.
Chapel question here. Chapel, can parents come in and sit separate from the students? At this time, we will not be meeting, in a live situation. We hope to get there quickly. I think there may be opportunities for us to share. One of the current ideas is kind of, we need to have a devotional and then some time of prayer for our country, prayer for our school. That there's probably no good reason why we couldn't share some of that with our parents and allow you to join in during those times. That would be a powerful thing to happen. We will continue to look for ways for parents to be involved, and virtually is one way we can do that. I'm just, as I think of that and parent involvement, our service hours, obviously those with you not being able to be in the building, those are going to have to be dismissed or adjusted depending on the length of this. Parent-teacher conferences, those kind of events, it's very likely, probable that much of that will occur digitally and in a virtual conference with individual families and teachers.
Two questions here. One, will virtual learning, if we're in phase 3, will it be only virtual learning? Yes. And that is because that is as the governor has mandated. There is no in-person instruction for phases 1 through 3. So that's not really a choice on our part. Will students be able to purchase lunch? Yep, we outline in the document, it does talk about food service and recess and extracurricular activities on page 10. There will be hot lunch available for purchase. It's pre-purchase like it always, has been. You purchase it the month before, and you can read on there some of the safety
protocols. And that will be going out
protocols.
Tomorrow morning. We've kind of waited on that email, but actually lunch email will be going out tomorrow morning, if not tonight.
And that will just, and then details of that will be outlined on page 10, just some of the safety precautions we have. A heads up to some families, normally we have the microwaves available for use because students will be in their classrooms, and for various reasons, microwaves it's not encouraged that we use that, so that won't be available. So just a heads up that, again, the microwaves will not be available for secondary students to use for lunch. I know it's devastating.
And just again, the concern for, band, band, those are some of those super spreaders, and we are well aware of that. There is some, protocols and some ideas of, that industry has deemed appropriate. And so, instruction may look a little different. And, much more of the practice may be at home or done, the play might be more individualized. So yes, there's some things, adjustments that can be done with band, and especially those that blow through instruments. At that. Can somebody ask, and I appreciate you asking, how are we doing as administration? And can I just say, this has been hard. We've worked a lot, I'll be honest with you, but as superintendent, I'm thankful for the people on my right and left and the people that I work with. And, God has brought great people to Novi Christian Academy. And so from myself to administration, to staff, to a school board that's very supportive, to a COVID-19 team that is made up of school board members and parents and other professionals, I'm encouraged. And ultimately, I am thankful that I have a faith that is not shaken by this, that I have a God who is certain during these times, that knows the way through this darkness, And, I can't, I just say it because it's a testimony that he has been with us throughout all of this, and he has answered our questions. He has provided guidance for us and put us to the right people. So I definitely, I appreciate you asking that. We're doing great. Really am. I am excited about the opportunity, and I pray that we have the opportunity to have students in the building. I truly believe that we can do it safely. Yes, there is a risk. There's a risk at everything we do. But I think we can continue to minimize the risk and, continue our mission. So for that, I'm thankful. So we're doing good. And I think we're coming about. I want to say thank you to Joseph. His hand is about cramping up over here. He's been feverishly writing down these. And by the way, if your kids love science, they need to check his YouTube site, which is
free plug, Wassel Science on YouTube.
a great 20 minutes of learning that I so appreciate. He's good. He doesn't let it on. Oh yeah. So if kids, as we have kids get sick, and it may not be COVID, it may be a broken leg. It could be surgery. We are much more prepared today than we were a few months ago to help that student through that time. And so we will be developing, educational plan for that student who's out for a week, perhaps 2 weeks, 10 days, 14 days.
Page 9 of our plan outlines that, just to give you some feedback, if they're quarantined when they're sick versus if they're quarantined, when they're not sick. But yes, we are, our goal is to have, online classrooms maintained, and that should just make it easier for everyone, just for the kid who's out for the common cold, for a couple days. As we're encouraging families to stay home more and more, we want to be able for access to be available more and more.
Yeah. And I don't know if a question came up, and we'll wrap this up shortly here. And if we don't get to your question, please feel free to email it to me or to any of us, and we'll work on that. But athletics, that is something that Mark Shenton and athletics will be continue to put information out. That was some of, Are You Starting Tomorrow was really, I think it was 3:30 today when we got notification of what's it look like. And I think most of athletics, which would be at this point volleyball, cross country, and soccer, will begin next week. So that's a little bit of adjustment, but those that are involved in athletics, if you haven't heard that, you will. If you are interested, then contact us and we'll pass you through to athletics. So,
More questions.
You want more?
Wrap it up.
yeah. Oh, somebody's asking about basketball. No, that's just a thank you.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, basketball, that'll be, hey, I have to bite my tongue a little bit. I said earlier, I am so thankful for the people that God has sent Novi Christian Academy. And, I know we've made a change at athletic director. I love our brother, Glenn. He continues to communicate with us, and we meet and communicate with him. He's been a great blessing to us. But Mark Shenton's been a great addition there and is doing a great job. And he will, in the near future, have some announcements in regards to, some of our coaching staffs and just settling that. I'm excited for the future of athletics, and basketball being one of those, and girls basketball. Now we just got to get volleyball back in the gym, and we'll go from there. So I would like to close us out in prayer. I see somebody asked that if I could, and I know we didn't open up in prayer, but my intent was to close in prayer. And really it is our prayer that God leads you as a family and gives you a peace and a comfort for making the decision, because I look at individuals on the screen, and I know that, your family, your unit has been affected differently than mine by this, this pandemic. So what we want is clarity for you. We want direction for you. So let me pray to that end, that God gives you a comfort and a peace, and know that NCA will support you in whatever decision you make. We're going to be here for you. So communicate with us, and we'll go from there. So let's bow our heads and pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we are thankful that we can call out your name, your mighty name, Lord. You're living and you are active in our lives, Lord. And for that, we thank you. We are thankful that you are our shield. You are our protector. You are our healer. You are our provider. Lord, you give us a sense of purpose. And for that, we thank you, Lord. And Lord, I pray for these families, Lord, that, Lord, this has affected some families physically. It's affected them emotionally. It's affected them financially, Lord. And I just pray that you would provide that which they need, Lord. You are a big God. And Lord, we need you now, Lord. We humble ourselves, and Lord, we just acknowledge that our need is you. And so, Lord, would you be that provider? Would you provide clarity for these people? Would you provide financially when it's needed? Lord, that there would be just a peace in their heart about the decision that's being made. Lord, I pray for protection for this school, that you would protect us from a financial standpoint, that you would protect us from a health standpoint. Lord, you have been good and have protected this school for years and kept harm from this school. Lord, would you continue to do that? Would you continue to shine upon Novi Christian Academy, Lord? And we will give you the praise and the glory. Lord, it's our endeavor. It's the endeavor of these parents that are here, and it's the heart of these students that I see, Lord, to know you, to serve you, Lord. And it is our goal, Lord, that they would come to a knowledge of truth, a biblical truth here, that you would help them apply it in their lives, Lord, and that we could partner together as school and as family, Lord, raising up a child in the way he should go. So, Lord, we thank you for that opportunity. We are blessed to be called your children, and we will give you all the praise and all the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Thank you all for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
We appreciate everybody.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah, love you too. Yes. Yeah, I love it.